our next segment is aimed at builders, and we want to pick a topic every week we get into. And this is the classic builder's dilemma right now, which is, do you build LGA 1151 or LGA 2011 V3, or basically Skylake versus Haswell E / Broadwell E? Now, what do you guys run at home in your gaming rigs?
Yeah, well, Brad and I are running the same card, which is the same processor, which is that 3570K, which was back in the day. That was the builder dream.
Ivy Bridge.
Yep, and it was a mid-grade i5. You could overclock that thing pretty well, and that was 2012 or 2013 when I built that. Yeah, 2012 when I built that machine. Back then, that was the processor to get because no games were using more than 4 cores anything.
That is a quad-core CPU, no hyper-threading.
Yep, no hyper-threading.
Off. Yeah.
But it was like, at the time, I think that was like a $300 CPU. And
$250. Usually that's like, the i5 is usually like $230, $250.
Yeah, I think it was around $250, $280 at the time because they were still pretty high.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I bought that, and now it is long in the tooth. It is the weak point of my system.
So would you?
It still runs pretty much every game.
It runs most games pretty well. Yeah. But it is definitely when we're talking DirectX 12, that is the weak point.
So you guys are pretty happy with your i5s? I mean, no hyper-threading for gaming?
For me, I mean, I don't have too many problems running games in it, but I'm interested in upgrading this year, actually.
Me
not
too.
so much because of the CPU performance increase, but because of the ecosystem that's now around these newer chips. Because, I mean, this doesn't support PCIe SSDs, so on and so forth, crap like that. There's been so much advancement around the CPU that I'm really looking forward to upgrading probably this year.
Well, are you going to... Yeah, and I agree, because really... If you have a Ivy Bridge or even a Sandy Bridge quad, you're fine, but that chipset around it is ancient. There's no USB 3 support. There's no PCIe 3 support. There's only two SATA 6.
There's USB 3 on the...
Not really. Not native Intel. Sucks. That performance sucks. Sorry. But so
come on, man. Come on.
Are you guys going to do basically... So if you had to build a system right now, would you build it off a Skylake quad?
I'm going 2011 V3.
Okay.
But mainly, I mean, part of that is because I do a lot of video stuff, but part of that is the article I believe you wrote about
I paid
cores,
somebody to write it and then put my name on it.
about core performance in DX12, and right around that 6 core spot seems like the sweet spot now.
Right.
Not for today's use, but if we're talking, if this is going to be another 5 years until I upgrade this processor, I would probably go with a 6 core.
Right. So like a 5820K, which is the classic. 5820K is about the same price as a 6700K.
Yep,
so
exactly.
$300.
And
$350.
I'm waiting for Intel to bring out Broadwell E stuff so that we can see
worst kept secret
what that next, I guess the 6820 or whatever it'll end up being.
Yeah, the pricing will be interesting. Go ahead, Brad.
If I had to upgrade today, I'd do the same thing as Hayden. I'd go for that 6 core. That 6 core part probably, or, the Skylake. I'm not a hardcore video editor, so I don't need full blown, Broadwell E. But realistically, if I had to buy a CPU today, that's what I would buy. But, theoretically, like a person like me, like, hey, man, I want to upgrade, but I don't have to do it right now. It's like my computer's not on fire. What I'm doing is I'm waiting to see, one, Broadwell E, if it indeed has 10 cores, if it's indeed $1,500, as the rumors say, all that stuff.
Right.
And B, to see, give it a couple of months and see how AMD Zen does, because, that's their Hail Mary. It could be awesome, could be horrible, who knows?
Right.
Well, and I'm hoping that, I don't know, that 1,500 rumor to me, I'm hoping that they actually do the typical NVIDIA thing, and we end up seeing... that 10 core hit where the 8 core did last time, or right around there at that $1,000 price point, and then see the 8 core drop down to around that $650, $700 price point. Because right now, like, the gap is huge. You can buy their 6 core chip
for
like $330, $350.
Yep.
And then that 8 core is $1,000, and the gap there is ridiculous.
Yeah, and the nice thing, of course, is they actually sort of gave you, when they did the Haswell E refresh, they gave you 2 more cores sort of for free at the lower cost. You could suddenly get a 6-core processor for 300, 350.
Yeah,
freebie
it became
thing.
like an actual. It has become an actual conundrum whether to go with that 6-core chip or the top end 4-core chip, because they're literally the same price. Like they're within $20 of each
Right.
other at this point.
I don't know if they're gonna. I would hope they would do the same thing that you're saying, start at 1,000 and work it down. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're selling 8-core chips for
Yeah,
$1,000.
1,000. Yeah.
and it's not like they're getting much competition at that $1,000 price point. Why not add 2 more cores and see if they can squeeze from a purely cold-hearted business perspective?
Yeah,
15 is pretty stiff though, man. I mean, I could
Yeah.
I understand they got to make money, but like you might feel like okay, maybe 1,200, maybe.
but,
you know?
I mean that's I would jump for an 8-core at 700.
Yeah.
In a way that I would not jump for an 8-core at 1,000. Like at 700, I'm like, yeah, I could justify paying as much as my graphics card.
But
That $1,000 mark is where I'm like, I can't. This would be the most expensive thing in my system, and the performance increase from 6-core to 8-core is not enough to justify $700.
except in video.
Yeah, well,
applications.
and very heavy intensive video applications.
Yeah,
re-rendering is
which
worth it.
I mean, that's what Gordon's been helping me spec out is a new video production box.
Right.
And it's like, I was at NAB recently and they were like, yeah, the more cores the better. So I'm trying to spec out and wait for the Broadwell E or whatever and see where that lands.
We're open 10 core for $1,000. So you're same thing for you, 5820 over Skylake probably. It's interesting.
That's probably what I would do because, I do this for a living. I mean, it's in my interest to future proof. If I was like advising a friend to build a PC today, I'd still probably, because DX12 needs more cores, but we haven't seen, that proof in that pudding yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all
well,
the DX12 games that have come out have been kind of disappointing. So I would still
Yeah.
at this point kind of recommend, still probably, the K edition of the Skylake Core i5. Or if you want to future proof a little bit, maybe nudge that up a little bit to the Core i7 so you get hyper-threading.
Yeah, is the 6600K, is that top end that's out right
that's
now?
the same thing. It's their 250, supposed to be 250
Yeah.
now, but it's the i5 no hyperthreading, right? Same thing as they've always had that SKU. Basically the Skylake version of the Ivy Bridge that you guys are rolling. And a lot of people still rolling those 2500Ks, right? Good chip, but no
Yeah.
hyperthreading.
Yeah, and that 3570K has served me very well. And if I was really trying to stick to a budget, I would probably run that for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But really, from just like an enthusiast perspective, I'm looking to upgrade. It's not like that 3570K has really run into that many problems. Though the more open world games we see,
Right.
the more
Yeah.
that thing starts to struggle.
Right.
Well, and weren't you saying you're getting pop-ups for VR stuff saying,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
hey,
the-
this is below min spec?
Yeah, it's below the Oculus min spec because Oculus doesn't actually check your performance; it checks a parts list, and so their minimum is like whatever that is, 4500, 4590, I think is their min spec.
But you haven't had any problems? I
No,
mean,
it's absolutely the same because the performance on those two chips is pretty much identical. They just don't check your performance. Like Steam, the Vive checks your performance. So the Vive is just like your 10 out of 10 system. Like you're running a 980 Ti, this thing will blow away any VR stuff you throw at it. It's only Oculus they check that parts list, and so you get a banner on every single screen
Well, that sucks.
that says, "Hey, you're below minimum spec."
Yeah.
Which is not true.
I mean, I think honestly, 2500K, 3570K probably is going to be fine for everything.
Yeah, for probably 2 more years, I think you could get away with that 3570K with no problem, except for stuff like The Witcher, or like I've seen problems in Assassin's Creed. You see some stuttering. Those are like the games where I've started to notice the 3570K having trouble keeping up.
Yeah, like you're talking about the Steam VR test. I tested the exact same card in both, my personal rig as well as the PCU test rig, which has the 8-core Haswell E. Haswell E part. And on my personal rig with the 3570K, I got 10.8, I believe, as the score. And on the 8-core rig, I got 10.9 or 11. So
Oh, boy.
minute difference.
That really paid for itself, those other 4 cores, right?